Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cageology podcast. I am here with one of my childhood friends, Amanda Horvath, who's doing such cool stuff in the world. And I'm really excited to share her story, her work with you all today. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Second round.
Yes, so excited. So, what's so interesting is that Amanda is the one that introduced me to manifestation, which is what launched my career. Because I don't know if you remember, Amanda, but you introduced me to The Secret
Oh, wow. I did
in
not
high
know that.
school.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, you introduced me to The Secret, and I watched it and I applied it to get into my dream college, to get into UVA. I put up affirmations all over my house. I put pictures of UVA all over my house and on my phone and on my computer background. And I just surrounded myself with everything and all things UVA. And I got in. And then I totally forgot about manifestation. And then a few years later, it must have been 2017 or so, I rewatched The Secret and I was just bawling. I was in tears because I was like, oh my gosh, I can see how I've been manifesting ever since then and what's worked and what hasn't. And this is what I want to share with people. This is my gift. This is going to be my business. And I ended up a few months later launching my first podcast, Wander Well, where I incorporated manifestation and travel and wellness and all the things. So, anyway, I'm sure all these listeners are thinking, thank you, Amanda, for introducing
I did not
KDJ.
know that story, so that's fantastic. I love it.
Yes, yes. So, what have you been up to since high school and what's lighting you up most recently?
Love it. Quite the journey since high school. It's crazy how long it's been. So, I went to film school. I did that whole thing. Lived and worked in LA for many years after college. I had one job. I've only ever had one job as a film festival programming coordinator. That blew up in my face. They still owe me tons of money. And I was like, oh, you know what? If they can do it and be this messed up as entrepreneurs, why can't I? So it was the opposite effect of what you'd think. It's like, oh, I'm never going to work for a startup again. It was like, well, why don't I just become an entrepreneur? Let's do this thing. I also have always been really into lifestyle design from a very young age, hence me telling you about manifestation very early on. And I did not want to live and work in Hollywood. I wanted to live near the beach and not commute 2 hours to and from. And so that's really another leg of becoming an entrepreneur. I started shooting and editing videos for clients all around LA. And at some point in time, felt a very strong calling to move back to Austin, Texas, where we are from primarily, and began going about my video marketing business here in Austin and quickly became a big fish in a little pond because Austin was not the competitive market of LA where everyone has a video camera. So I quickly landed some big clients that were dream clients. In fact, I wrote a Dream 100 list only a couple of years before for all those manifestation people out there. And I landed the person on the top of the list. Unfortunately, I can't say for indie purposes who this is, but that really was eye-opening for me because I realized, wow, this is actually not what I want to do. I'm working with dream clients, but he has an endless bank account that he could pull from money to pay me, but he was buying my time, and I did not like that. And so there's now finding out that I'm a projector in human design. I believe there was kind of an intuitive knowing throughout all of this journey that I'm not a cog in the wheel in Hollywood. I don't fit in to do 15-hour days in Hollywood, so it's not a fit for me. And then working with, clients, it was like, okay, trading time for money. How do I escape the time for money trap and get out there? So I had seen an opportunity to start my own YouTube channel. I saw that with iPhones coming out and all the opportunities with how much easier it is to make video today, that people would eventually start filming their own videos and they wouldn't need a videographer, which, to be honest, at the time seemed revolutionary. Today, duh, obvious, right? But it was not back then. I remember trying to convince people, you can do it. You don't need to hire me to pay thousands of dollars to make this thing happen. So I started my YouTube channel in 2018 with the title How to Create Videos Without Breaking the Bank or Taking Up Tons of Your Time. That was kind of the mission. Fast forward 6 weeks later to creating weekly video content. The phrase that I kept saying is like, I will blow my brains out if I have to film one more talking head video on the best mic off Amazon. Like, it just felt like, yes, I'm helping people. Yes, I'm doing this thing. Yes, I have an audience. Yes, I'm making passive income. I had an online course with this business and all the things. But there was something that it wasn't fulfilling a certain level of purpose that I deeply craved. And being a film school kid, I was like, I want to start creating more creative videos, not just simple talking head videos. So that, and I should say as well that I found human design in May of 2020. So there was a little bit of an overlap between the moment that I just shared and coming online, which 2020 was my first year in the online course business, which was a great first year in the online course business. I would have been out of a job had I not made that decision prior to COVID. Um, so human design has really been the tool that I've used to find what's next and uncover where to from here, really, and how to build a business from a place of deep alignment. Um, yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Amazing. I have so many questions, especially since you and I are both projectors. And I'm sure any projector that is listening today, gosh, we are going to feed you some good stuff today. I can feel it because I know as a projector and an entrepreneur, there's been so many times where I'm like, okay, I get 4 to 6 hours a day of really solid, efficient work, right? Is that what you've been told too?
Which, to be honest, is a little bit there. I have some caveat nuances to that one. I don't think it's
Please.
entirely true. So, being a projector, that's the one thing that I heard very early on. I was like, oh, you're only meant to work times a day. And then I was very fortunate in finding human design. I got connected with one of the original students of Raw, the founder of human design, Barbara Ditlow. And she is also a projector. She's a self-projected projector. Katie and I are both splenic projectors, which means that we're energy projectors. We actually do have energy within our bodies that we can access. It's just not sacral energy, right? So there's a difference. So she is a non-energy projector as a self-projected projector. And she was like, no, that's total BS. I don't know who said you could only work 4 to 6 hours a day. It's just that you need to do it from a place of play, not work. And you could probably attest to this that when you get into a flow state and it's fun and you're loving what you do, you could probably keep going and going and going. But if you're grinding, that's a very different energy.
Okay, that's good to know because, yeah, I mean, there definitely are times where I'm like, I could keep going. I feel great. Like, I still have efficient work in me as long as it feels like play. But like you said before, when it came to the talking head videos about which mic to buy, you were like, this does not feel like play. So, what
Exactly.
happens if your work does not feel like play? What do you do? How do you find work that is also play?
Great question. It happens in phases, is the first thing that I'm going to say. I think a lot of people, you try to rush this human design experiment, and in that they say it takes 7 years to decondition, right? Well, I'm only like a little over 4 years into this, 4.5 years, coming up on five, I guess, very soon, actually. But this, like, we want to rush through it. But the reality is, like, as a projector, sitting back and waiting for the invitation is very different than initiating energy, which we're used to doing. So, if you're, the first step is awareness. Okay, what I'm doing doesn't feel aligned. All right, how can I create space in my life so I'm not constantly burned out with what I'm doing by offloading the things that I don't like, simplifying my offers, eliminating number of clients that you have by raising your prices if you can. Um, and I did that for both. pivots from the videography business into the online course business, as well as out of what I've been doing with just being the video girl online to now like stepping up into human design. So that's the first step, I think, is like actually just focusing on shedding misalignment rather than jumping straight to, I'm going to get now this other job and I'm going to go pursue this new thing and I'm going to, all that kind of thing. And I think another big piece of this too is like be financially intelligent. Don't just, so many mystical, spiritual people are ungrounded, right? They don't live in the real world. And there's a balance between masculine and feminine. And I've done it. I've done both, where I'm like hyper masculine and then I've done the hyper feminine move. But each of us need to balance this within ourselves. And so that's why I say like make strategic decisions in your business that can give you space, which is really financial space, to play more without expecting it to make money right away.
Totally. Okay, so let's get nitty gritty then, because I appreciate you saying like, yes, there is a lot of really far-reaching feminine in the spiritual space where it's just too airy-fairy, too woo to really land with concrete examples. So I'm going to give a personal concrete example and
Perfect.
like we'll talk about it because I'm really interested. Okay, so um my business was I had a variety of different offerings, everything from retreats to women's circles to one-on-one coaching, donation-based breathwork offerings. And it's not that it really that I burnt out, it's that I made a lot of money. In 2021 and 2022, I had over $100,000 in sales, which is super exciting, but I also was not prepared for the tax bill that came, and that ended up like freaking me out to the point of like, I don't want to do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm bad at this. I just want to shrink myself and work and a job that I know if I show up, I'm gonna get paid, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you show up and you don't get paid. There's no guarantee that you're gonna sign that client, right? And so, but if you go to a job and you trade your time for money, then you know you're going to get paid and you're going to be able to pay your rent. And that's my thing is I need to pay my rent. I have a zero interest credit card debt that I need to pay. And I would love to have more play and pleasure in my business and more spaciousness in my business. And I would love to even lean deeper into my business. And because when I hit that in 2022, I kind of just like burned it all down and started over, really, essentially, is kind of what happened. I still had people reaching out and I still signed clients here and there, but it was nothing compared to the years before. And now I'm like, damn, I am comfortable with this paycheck. I still have clients here and there, nothing compared to before. But how do I and I'm also listening to this book called The Psychology of Money, right? And it's talking about a lot of like risk and luck, right? And being an entrepreneur, there is a lot of risk involved. And I'm like, do I just need to go all in on my business again? And because I know I can sign two clients and completely wipe out my debt, or I can just chip away at it with this paycheck that I'm getting, you know? And so I don't like, yeah, how do I, how do I
Such
do
great
it?
foundation. Yes. So the thing that's interesting about it is you did exactly what I say to do, create space for yourself. And that was to get a job so that you're not having to do the constant marketing hustle of being an entrepreneur, right? As you know. And now you've also learned the lesson, right, of everything that comes in, put aside 15%,
Or if you're
right?
in California, more like 30.
Yes, if you're in California, more like 30, move back to Texas. Your parents will love it. Anyway. So that was like a huge thing. There's a book called Profit First that I highly suggest for people to get really grounded. That really helped me to understand just like business savings and tax savings, like how to manage that. So I would say when you're considering this switch, it's interesting. My sun gate in human design is gate 28, and this is the gate of the game player, which is rolling the dice, taking a risk to find purpose and meaning in life. Okay, so I'm the queen of burn it down energy, leave behind whatever you have before, all the things. And I don't think that's the path, to be honest. I really think slow and steady wins the race. And I believe that more than ever now. I think that there's ways to do it calculated and strategic without having to like go all in, so long as you feel like you have the space as a projector with the job that you have. I would be focused if I were you right now, which is exactly what you're doing. How can I start getting back out there and putting my face back out there in all these different places? Like YouTube's great, honestly. I know you're thinking about YouTube. Like YouTube, if I didn't need to make money right now, I would not focus on Instagram. I would not focus on TikTok. I would focus on YouTube. I'm I still have clients that book with me, and I haven't posted a video in over a year.
Whoa.
That's significant. And the other day, I was on a call with an interventionalist cardiologist, okay? Wanting to start on social media. And he's like, "You did something. Like I can tell you know how to play this game because I'm here as this totally different, high level career asking you for help, you know?" And it's because of YouTube. I've tried to play the Instagram game, the TikTok, like actually really haven't played TikTok. I've barely flirted with Instagram as well, but it's so different, especially as a projector that is not down to wake up every single day and keep on that hamster wheel. And your work does not continue to work for you, right? So it's kind of like that passive income strategy. When you're building a passive income strategy, that's building a pipeline that until you turn on the oil and it flows through, it's not going to be making money while you're building that pipeline. So that would be the first thing. How can I come out and focus on, instead of focus on the vanity metrics, focus on the sustainability element for you? How can I do this in a way that feels like fun, that feels sustainable, and that is genuinely like it's working? You're getting traction, right? It takes time to get traction. It took me 6 months to get 500 subscribers on YouTube. And then at a year, I had 1,200. At a year and a half, I think I had 2,200. And by the end of that next year, I was at 20,000. So it's exponential. It's
Whoa.
not linear. Hmm.
How often were you creating videos and content?
Weekly,
Okay.
weekly for 6 years. And it's very easy I say it's very easy to do. Okay, let me preface that. It is easy to do talking head videos that is templated format, especially so long as you're excited about what you're talking about, right? Like I just burned out on my topic. I did not burn out on creating videos because my whole system is like film once per month, 4 videos at a time, and outsource all the editing. Don't edit yourself. And if you have a job, you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, I love that. And I need that reminder. It's like, hey, once per month, batch create. You don't have to do the editing because I don't want to do the editing. I don't do the editing of my podcast either. I just can't. I won't podcast if I have to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, especially once again as a projector. I think there is a value to learning how to edit. I definitely encourage people to learn to edit. CapCut is amazing. You could watch one tutorial and learn to do it, but then don't do it consistently. Yeah.
But do you think it's important to learn to do it so that you know how you want it done so that when you outsource, you have the standard operating procedure? Or do you think just know how to do it just so you know?
That's a great question. Built, I have gone both routes where I have created a hyper templatized approach to how I do it. I create the transitions, I create the text that I use ongoing. And then I have also hired someone better than me and paid them more than the $7 per hour person in the Philippines, right? I will say the one thing with hiring an editor, hire within the same time zone as you, that will change your life. I've been very big into outsourced video editing for years, but you can also go to South America and get the same rates as the Philippines, and they could be in the same time zone. Um, so I
Why is
think that
that?
for being in the same time zone, all right, I'll give the caveat that if you're single and don't have kids, it's definitely easier to outsource to the Philippines. It works because you can do a 7 p.m. call with someone, right? But until like it wasn't sustainable for me once I ha became a mom because the 7 p.m. is like the worst time to be having a business call, like amidst just whatever, even with like a 10 p.m. bedtime, which I have a toddler that still goes to bed at 10 p.m. every night. It's crazy. But anyway,
Whoa.
yeah, that's a whole other story. That also was part of the story I missed. But so I also think though, once I hired someone that was in South America, I could text him throughout my work week. I could send him voice memos. He could send me edits. I could respond in real time, have him keep editing, right? And so it's easier to collaborate, I think, in that department. So coming back to your question of like, do I templatize first and then outsource? I would say, depending on your budget, it might make sense to do that. But also, like, are you going to hire someone, if you're editing in CapCut, I would hire someone that's also editing in CapCut so they can like use those exact systems. And you can know what they're doing. And you could even say, hey, this is great. I love that you did this in this last video. Can you record a Loom video of how you did that? Or can we hop on a Zoom call and you show me how to do that? So you'll be gaining and learning your skill set just to have it, but you're not the one doing it. And I'd say the reason also to learn to edit is so that when you need to turn out a video fast, you can. Because there will be times where inspiration hits and you're like, I want to post this right now. And you don't want to have to wait 7 days or however long for someone else to do it.
There you go. I love that. Yeah. So know how to do it, but don't do it most of the time.
Yeah, and hire someone better than you.
Yeah. How
Because
do
if you
you go about finding somebody on Fiverr or?
So previously, I would push people to onlinejobs.ph. It's like specifically for the Philippines. I would say now, if I was especially CapCut, I would start on Fiverr to find someone.
Mhm.
This last time that I hired an editor, I ended up going through an agency and I was paying 12.50 a month for that. So I did pay a significant amount to find someone better, but also like to find someone better than me is harder, because I have been doing this for since high school,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's easier to find someone better than you. And then like really, I would say also look at are they editing the same videos that I'm editing? Like, don't hire someone that has all narrative films on their portfolio, right? If you're doing social media clips and you're hiring for someone for social media clips, like you want to see social media clips on their portfolio. And then I would also hire 3 people and do a test project. You can give one video to each person, or you can give the same video to each person and see who does it best. Pay attention to communication styles. Did they hit the deadline? Right? That's a big one if you're trying to do weekly, you know. And then also just like how easy are they to communicate with? If you give notes, do they actually change it? That's like one of the most annoying things in the world. You give notes and you're like, I said this already. I do not want to be catching you not taking my notes. So those are like minor things with it, hiring an editor.
Totally. This is all so helpful. So, do you think that different human design types work best with different marketing outlets? Like manifesting
Okay,
generators
I'm
are
gonna
best
say
on
something right now
Instagram.
that will blow your mind.
Yes.
It's really interesting. So I am currently creating a human design documentary and I'm diving into the foundations of human design. And type was not a thing for 10 years. Mhm.
What? How many years has it been around?
It was downloaded in 87. So
Whoa.
until 1997, type was not a thing. And there are some people out there that argue type is not a thing. And I would say I think that there is definitely a value to type. I'm not discounting type, but there is a big push on social media And this is what I call pop HD, right? Like the concept of like, if you're a manifesting generator, do this. If you're a generator, do this. Or here's your affirmation for the day. The reality is, this is the science of differentiation, and everyone is so unique that you have to treat each person very uniquely. So, like, we could even dive into your design and talk about specifics too, if you want. But I would highly recommend, like, looking at the centers in your chart, starting there. In fact, I do have that was not planning to lead you guys in this direction, but this is why I created it. I do have a nine centers PDF guide that like walks someone through the foundations to get started because that has been the most profound part of human design for me. And very few people who are into human design have like really dove in at that level.
How do people access that?
We'll link it.
Okay. In the show
Uh,
notes.
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. And in the description below as well. Okay, so now I'm so curious because you have my chart pulled up
Get it
and you
up.
said to start with centers.
Yes. And this is why I looked at your chart immediately and was like, oh, wow, this is interesting because you and I are both splenic projectors with two defined centers and seven open centers in our chart, white centers.
Hmm.
So the first thing is like you look at someone's chart and you look at your chart and you can see like how much color do I have compared to white? The color is who you are. That's your consistent places that you show up in life. And the white is where you're receptive to energy, where you receive the energy of other people. And
And they change with who you're surrounded by. Okay.
the planets moving in the sky.
Okay. All the
So,
things.
hmm And so you and I, with seven open centers, change a lot. And so there is this, it can be very hard to put your finger on who is Katie Jones, right? Because you
Hmm.
think you figure it out, and then the next day it's like, boop, I feel different today. Let me change everything according to that,
I will do
right?
that. I've been known to do that.
Yeah. So another thing, so if you're starting with the centers, there's a question to ask for each of the open centers that helps you really distinguish between what's mine and what's theirs. So when you're making decisions about your business, so you originally you asked something like, is there something, if I'm a manifesting generator, I should do blank. I forget what the question was. Like,
Different social media or marketing outlets for different types.
yeah. So instead of outsourcing your authority to listening to someone on a podcast tell you what you should and shouldn't do, all types can do everything.
Hell
You,
yeah.
human design does not dictate what you can or cannot do. What it does is it tells you how to tune in for yourself
Mm.
to decide what's best. And so the questions for each of the open centers help you clear where am I picking up shoulds from other people and what I'm hearing, the people I live with, all the things, and acting from that place versus like, okay, I'm catching myself. Like, for example, one of the questions, you and I both have this, do I think I have something to prove? Is a big question. So you ask that, and if you find yourself wanting to prove yourself, which if you're anything like me, ran your life, everything was proving myself. And then you realize and you're like, this is the for everyone listening, if you look at your chart, it's the ego center. So there's the middle line and then there's like a weird triangle off to the right, that center. It's a smaller center. If that's white within your chart, asking the question, do I think I have something to prove, helps you recognize where you're about to make a decision that is going to get you off path from where you're really meant to go. And so, okay, am I doing Instagram because I think I have something to prove? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then another one for the sacral is, do I know when enough is enough? Okay. So like as you're moving throughout the day, this comes back to the question of like, can projectors really work 4 to 6 or more than 4 to 6 hours per day? It's actually about tuning in with yourself and saying, do I know when enough is enough? Do I need to step away from the computer? Do I need to go for a walk? Right? The answer is no, we never know when enough is enough. Like when you're just left without this question. But the more you begin to ask it, the more you begin to realize and tune in and catch yourself from doing too much. So, okay, my life is stacked. Like, let's say that's the experience. I'm working all day. I come home. I am, you know, whatever, spending time with a significant other, or I'm trying to like also do all these things. Like, do I implement a daily Instagram strategy or TikTok strategy? Do I know when enough is enough? Right?
Hmm.
So that's why I think these questions can be even more like helpful than the generic information that is all over social media right now for human design.
For sure. And that's the pop human design that you're referring to, is just the generic big picture.
Yeah, it's typology.
Yeah.
I am a projector and so I should. It's actually like putting label like human design is used as a labeling system in the world when it's actually designed to be the opposite. It's a system for understanding. It gives you words to understand yourself. It honestly gives you words for things you've never been able to describe about yourself,
Hmm.
right? So that you can experience, so that you have a word in a way to understand. But ultimately, what you're wanting to do is you're tuning into the felt experience of who is Katie, who is Amanda. Okay, it feels like this for me, to move through the world. And now I have a way of explaining it to someone, and I know how it fits into the all of society because each of these different gates and channels and centers are almost like archetypes that we play in the world.
I have a friend who's a manifester and she's working with a generator. They have a company together. It's a retreat company called the Medicine Connective. And I used to run my own retreats, as I mentioned, and I got to the point where I was like, nah, I don't want to do it this way. I love retreats, but this is not how it's supposed to be. And a few months after I said that out loud to the universe, wrote it down, whatever, they invited me to facilitate on their retreats. And just the other day, my friend Danielle was saying, she's like, I'm just starting to realize that us generators and manifestors should really just be create, not she's shitting, but I just realized those are should, but she was basically saying that it would be best, in her opinion, if the manifestors and the generators of the world, she didn't mention reflectors, were in charge of creating the thing, creating the platform for the projectors and the manifesting generators to be lifted up, basically. Or she's like, I want to create a space, a company, a retreat company where people like me, the projector, gets to just get invited, right? Like, I don't need to create the business. And yet, I'm going on three of these retreats over the course of this year. I'm going to South Africa, Italy, and Bali
Amazing.
just got
That's
announced.
epic.
Yeah. So excited to get flown out. All things are paid for. I get paid in the process. I can stay there as long as I want to, meaning like the flights are going to cost the same or maybe less if I'm there for a longer period of time. I would just have to pay for my own board and room after the retreat is over if I wanted to stay longer. But anyway, these are beautiful experiences, and I'm so grateful for them to sit back and wait for the invitation. But that's not going to pay all my bills, right? And that's like this limiting belief where it's like I can't. And even recently, I reached out to a local yoga studio and I said, do you need help with social media? Because I can see that you need help with social media. I invited myself into that role, right? And they said, oh my goodness, yes, we need your help. Other people have asked us, but like, we love what you do on social media and we would love for you to do it for the studio. So, yeah, like, how do you balance this? I need to wait for the invitation, this is my strategy, and I have bills to pay, and I can see where there's a gap in the market that I can send myself into. and invite myself.
You can put, so it is interesting. So another person that I interviewed said, strategy is BS. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is my perspective entirely, but I'm saying there are people that have been in human design since 95 that have this perspective. Okay. He thinks he's like authority is genius, and I do agree with that. But it's interesting that, you know, strategy thing. So the way that I work with wait for the invitation, which actually, you know, I really do wait for the invitation, and I've played with this concept. In fact, last year I took out a large sum of money from my savings, from all the business success that I've had throughout the years, and just lived on it and let myself entirely let go of making money and said, what happens if I exclusively wait for the invitation? And a lot of beautiful things happened actually in that process. Like that's what led to the human design documentary purely via invitation. That's what like led to me starting a human design podcast and like which is not out in the world yet, but it will be one day. All the things. Um, uh, it's like it did open up a lot of things. And to your point, it then was like, okay, well, I've been pulling out of savings. Like it's time to live in the world in alignment and make money, right? And I can't be the broke spiritual person that's on this journey that's doing whatever. It's like, no, you gotta like be financially smart and do your thing. And so there, I love this analogy. Like it's wait to be invited or recognized. And this concept of like put the ball in their court is a big one, I think, for projectors. A couple of things. One, you build the container so that someone can say yes or no to it, because a generator is not going to tell you what you should do because they don't, you know, like, oh, what do you think I should do? That's an open-ended question. But hey, can I do social media for you? Yes. Right? Like, okay, cool. So I'm not going to initiate in the fact that, you know, I'm going to go out, like, prime example of using the question, do I think I have something to prove? You decided to get a job, and there's probably an ego death that was associated with that to a degree,
Mhm.
right? Okay, you chose not to prove yourself. What came from not proving yourself, you had space to not have to initiate in your business and create your own retreats. And because you had space, the invitation came in. And then you had this effortless experience of being flown around the world to give your genius. And then you got to feel what it felt like to be in alignment.
Yeah.
So, creating the container so that people can say yes to you is a big piece, and putting the ball in other people's court and using your profile to strategically do that. So, 4 6, this is a prime example. Okay. So, 4 is all of your opportunities come through your network. So, if you're not getting the invitations that you want, you need to expand that network.
Yes. Like I've definitely seen that. I mean, like I said, my friend Danielle started this business, invited me into the business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm a 4 line as well. And my thing this year is like I've forever served the underdog, and I'm no longer serving the underdog. Okay. Yes. When I have a full cup, I can freely give, and my online presence will freely give. But like, give me the person with money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I am now at the point where I'm like, I can make a big impact, and I have the confidence to do that. So let me do that. In order to do that, I need to escape the circles of people talking about we live in a downturn economy. Everyone's broke. No one has money. There's a lot of stories right now about that. Okay, well, when you get in rooms with other people, I've heard people say, is it a downturn economy?
I've been
There,
having great success.
yes, like
Yeah.
there is so much money out there right now that is
hmm
available, you know?
hmm
Expand your network.
Yes. Yes. So would you, okay, because like with so many open centers, I'm so receptive to the world around me. I live in a small mountain town that is known for having a bunch of ski bums and snowboard bros, right? Like people here are not starting businesses. People here are not inspired to do more, have more, be more. I would say like this, like most of them aren't going to therapy or having coaches or investing in masterminds or even really buying self-help books, right? It's like for the most part. Of course, that still exists here, but not like it does in Austin. So do you think it would be supportive for someone like me who wants to go back into full-time entrepreneurship to surround themselves in a town of people, a city of people, of entrepreneurs?
All right. So I would say a couple of things. One, if everyone out there looks at your G center in human design, which is the center for identity and direction, if it's white within your chart, which yours is, as is mine, your environment really matters big time
Hmm.
because you become your environment. And so I'm not saying you should necessarily move. I think that's up to you to decide, right? Like if you've been hearing a call that is like, you should go, you should, I know you mentioned like, I want to get a van and get out of here, right? Like there's probably an element of that that is like an underlying splenic voice that's like inviting you. I genuinely believe in energetic invitations as a projector, especially when you're splenic, because it's like a voice. Like
Mm.
I heard a voice that was like, step in front of the camera, Amanda. And I'm like, no, no, not right now. Okay. And then COVID happened. And if I didn't step in front of the camera, I would have been out of a job. It was actually guiding me to make decisions for my safety, right? That's what the spleen does. And then I heard a very strong voice that was like, move back to Austin. And a year after I moved, my ex-boyfriend, who I was dating at the time, died on my birthday. Had I not moved, I would have been in a whole different situation in terms of like, it already was painful enough, you know?
Yeah.
My spleen was guiding me to safety. So there's like a side of it that's like, we logically it didn't make sense. I had a business, I had all the things, you know, like, but there was something that said go. Same with the voice to get in front of the camera. It didn't make sense. I had a business, it was working. The voice said go, you know? So it's like learning to listen to it.
Hmm.
And that voice, you know, you could call it intuition, you could call it whatever. Um, but that's how I experience it. So yeah, that's what I would say is environment matters for you, and you're the only one that can answer that question.
Totally. Yeah. So what else? I mean, I know I have so many open centers, so it's like we don't have time to go into all of them, but like, okay, so let's go into the maybe the two that are defined. Like, what does that mean for me?
Okay. Yes. So you can focus a lot on who am I not, and you can also focus on who I am, right? So you have one channel, the channel of transformation. It's like,
Makes sense.
yeah. Um, Alexander Hamilton, his chart was that one channel with seven open centers. He was a splenic projector. And so I don't know if you've watched the movie Hamilton. Oh my God. Okay, you gotta watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Like watch the Broadway. There's this song that's like rise up. It's like all this whatever. I won't sing it. But it's so good. And it's so interesting watching that film, knowing his design, because I'm someone that every time I watch a movie, every time I read a book, I just type in that person's name and then type in astro chart and it'll pull up their astrology and then you can look up their human design to know how this information is being filtered through. So you have a pressure to rise up in the tribe. It's a tribal energy, so you're 100% tribal, which also means that who you're around matters even more, right? In addition to these other things, being a four line, open G center. Okay. It is the energy 50, gate 54 is the energy, which is your unconscious earth, which is what grounds you. It's the energy of the marrying maiden. It's the story of a maid that goes into the king's castle to clean, and the prince falls in love with her. She marries the prince. Then the king dies. They become king and queen. Then her king dies, and she's the ruler of the entire kingdom.
Yes.
And so there's a pressure to rise up through the ranks of society know who you need to know in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process, it's the transformation unfolds. It's transformation over a longer period of time. It's not like manifesting generator energy that's like bam right now, but it's like over the span of time, you will naturally get into positions that cause you to rise up, right? And there is a highly ambitious energy to Katie Jones. Right? Or Katie J, I guess I should say. So accepting that about yourself instead of making yourself wrong for being an ambitious individual, especially that you're a projector that should only work 4 to 6 hours a day, that is a story that might not be serving you because you are someone that is extremely ambitious and you operate in spurts. You operate in adrenalized energy that comes in with like intuitive clarity that you then act on right now. And so designing a life that gives you that flexibility is key as a splenic individual.
Mm. So interesting. Okay, gosh, I need to hire you so we can dive even deeper. Do you do want to like what are your offerings these days?
Yeah, great question. So that's been, you know, a deep exploration of my soul and all the things, and a lot of asking, like, what do I want? So I do human design readings. Anyone can book a human design reading. I do individual strategy sessions. Anyone can book an individual strategy session. But a couple of years ago, I began incorporating, combining YouTube and human design into a service so that people could build a YouTube channel in alignment. That's kind of how it started. And it has, I've been doing that one to one with people. I used to exclusively focus on passive income via courses and affiliate revenue and ad revenue. And then I learned I'm a projector that enjoys one to one. It's like, oh, yeah, let me dive into that. So, right now, my main offering is I have this thing called the Deep Dive Experience, which is a 3 month container that is one to one, a 2.5 hour deep dive coaching session each month that the first hour we do human design nerdy stuff like look at your entire family and see what the conditioning field was as a child and what factors you're still thinking that that's who you are. What shoulds are you wearing that came from your past? Because when you're especially a seven-centered open being, it's like you wear a lot, you take on a lot of people's stuff and you think that that's who you are. So family analysis. The second month is marketing analysis. So doing a deep dive of very specific codes within the human design chart that help you gain clarity on like who's my audience. For example, your audience are people that have a 5 line profile, which is very interesting. Mhm.
Whoa. Meaning like the person that I am meant to serve the most in this world have a 5 line profile. So I should study what that means and then speak directly to them.
Yeah, they are leaders and they are controversial leaders, people that are standing on kind of like a heretical concept that is not necessarily always accepted in the world, and they
Hmm.
can be very easily misunderstood by other people. And they have a projection field that they carry that people project onto them who they think that they are, and then at some point it bursts and they know what that experience is like of like watching it happen. And if you're watching this and this is you, you should comment below and
Reach
affirm
out to me.
that that's who you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting. And that's very different than you being a 4/6,
Hmm.
right? So there's like very specific codes that like you can get into, or like what's the marketing message you're here to share? What's like what drives you? You're actually driven by routine.
Whoa. That's interesting because I have no routines right now. Like every day is different, which is stressful for me.
It can be, especially when because it attracts gate 15, which is the gate of extremes.
Mm.
And so but there's more nuances to it, but it's like it's routine from the lens of like you have a fixed flow and you need to honor that fixed flow. And so you won't do things that mess up your fixed flow. Like that's what drives you, which is
Yeah.
probably why, you became an entrepreneur, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my morning routine is sacred to me. Like that, no matter what's going on, I'm doing the full like meditation, get outside, journaling, all the things.
Yes. Exactly.
Hypnosis. Yeah.
Perfect. So there's all these codes. That's the month 2. Month 3, we dive into the transits. The planets are constantly moving. How do you understand what's happening, how it's impacting you, and how do you rise above it to where you can use it when it's helpful to you, but you don't like build your life on something that's going to go away, right? Like,
Mhm.
because there's these planets, things will be activated in your chart for a long time. Like I've had a defined throat for over a year and a half now. I'm not a defined throat individual. Like I share in different ways and all these different things. And so it's like understanding that it's like, okay, how do you use that to your advantage without getting sucked into it? And then in addition to all that analysis, also diving into like, what do you feel is next? What's coming for you? What is the marketing strategy? Let's take action. And it's daily coaching outside of that container to get someone up and running.
Nice. So how do people, and wait, and then you also have a podcast coming out
And a new
soon.
YouTube channel.
And a new YouTube. I know I saw your email about that and I was like, oh, she's not even willing to tell. You said, I don't want to tell you what the YouTube channel is. I'm just going to trust the algorithm to find us. And I was like, Amanda, you better tell me what this YouTube channel is.
I had so many people respond like, you can't do that. So yeah, I will eventually tell people. I haven't posted anything just yet on it. It's coming. I want to get, this is another thing with YouTube. It's like I highly recommend having at least 4 videos filmed before you release your first one, just so you don't start in that cycle of like needing to do things. And then I'm also getting like some website stuff aligned and finished, so I'm not doing them simultaneously because motherhood, man, it's a thing with a limited time. So I'm being smart about when enough is enough. So the website will be frequencyofself.com. And depending on when this goes live, you'll be able to find the human design reading, you'll be able to find the deep dive experience, you'll be able to find the 9 centered PDFs there, um, all the things.
Beautiful. And we'll also link it below. Hell
Yes.
yeah. When do you think it'll go live? Roughly.
Very soon. I'm finalizing a few things to make it happen quickly. Yeah.
Amazing. And how can people find your YouTube channel, the previous one with all of the YouTube advice and talking head videos and things you
Yeah.
referenced?
And that will continue. There's still some question marks there. I think it's going to be more like my creator journey, and continue sharing the video side of me there and online business tips and things like that. That way I can attract people from the business side and attract people from the human design side, and the offering will serve both. So that's just Amanda Horvath.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Yay. Awesome. Well, anything else that you want to share to the people out there, all the fives out there, or the whatever number you're supposed to be speaking to in the world?
Yeah, I attract 3s and 4s.
Nice. Yes, I can see that because I'm a four and I'm
Yeah.
attracting.
Yeah. Which was so helpful for me to learn because it's like I can talk to how do you actually leverage your network in order to build your online presence, right? 4 lines do that. Um, Final tips, I would say one core thing that can be beneficial to anyone, no matter what you're looking to do, no matter your type, is look at your sun gate. So yours is one of the most intuitive gates in the entire chart, gate 57.
Mm.
The gentle. It's like in the traditional I Ching, it's like a whisper that's very quiet. That if your life is crowded, you can't hear it. But it's about like settling down and like listening to like the gentle whispers of the intuition that can come through. So whatever your sun gate is, go. I really love actually looking at it from a gene keys perspective. So type in like gene key 57 and see what the trajectory of that frequency is from the shadow frequency to the gift to the city is the trajectory. So the shadow is basically the lower frequency energy of that And then the gift is what you focus on in order to shift out of the shadow. And the city is a little bit more of a aspirational energy, not necessarily one you'll reach in this lifetime always. So really the only thing you need to know is the gift. And if you can focus on whatever that thing is for your life, that alone has been like huge clarity for me in playing with that and taking action according to it. And that's really what makes you a magnetic character that will begin attracting opportunities into your life or making your online content resonate the more you can embody that gift.
Where do people see that within their chart, their sun gate?
Oh, great question. So there's going to be two sides. There's going to be a black side with planets and numbers listed next to it, and then the red side. Red is always what you're unconscious of. You're not really aware of it yourself. Other people see it in you. You don't see it in yourself. The black you're conscious of. So you want to look at your black sun, which is a circle with a dot in it. It's the first number, and it depends what chart system you're looking at, but
Totally. I have the Gene Keys book, so I'm gonna go look it up. 57.
57.
Hell yeah.
And
Awesome.
and if you look at the site, just like Gene Key 57, type it in. It'll show you the quick words too if you guys don't have the book. But yeah, you can also link to the book in the description below for anyone that does want to read it.
Cool. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Amanda. I really appreciate your time today. It's been awesome to
absolutely.
chat with
Thanks for
you.
having me. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.